Commodity Institute. We're live.
Audio okay?
Yeah.
All right, everybody. We're moments away from kicking off here.
Say something?
It's a cool day here in La Crescenta from March. Got the jackets on, got the hoodies on. Usually it's sunny and hot. Ian and I usually have fans going, air conditioners going. Not today. Although we'll take it, because it's usually hot as hell here. For those of you guys on the East Coast who are tuning in, it's heading towards, what, 5 o'clock your time pretty soon? What's it, 3 o'clock now? So you're a couple hours away from hopefully a good evening. It's Wednesday, it's hump day, right? So we're through the week. For those of you who may be listening and tuning in, what's happening to my man Marcus? Marcus, join us Friday night, Tamashanter, 6 p.m. Instagram me. We are on the West Coast. Maybe you're bounced out for a quick lunch break. Who knows what else you do during a lunch break. I know what Marcus does. We are in the garage. We're here where it all started for the podcast. This is season 10, episode 1. Got a lot to get into. This is a special live Instagram as well as YouTube. Our YouTube channel is JMBR Podcast, for those of you who are YouTube fans. This platform in our podcast was largely promoted on Facebook back in the day. That seems to have changed over this last decade or so. So Instagram Live, thanks for tuning in, those of you who are with us. I want to give a special welcome to all of our JMBR family. You know who you are, Boom Boom, Nicole, Dave, Mad Max, all of our team, Mikey, Ira, AJ, Mia. I'll list everybody a little bit later on, but for those of you who attended last year's Joe's Mini Bike Reunion, thank you. All of our exhibitors, all of our spectators, and obviously all of our participants who brought out their bikes. Before we get into the big announcement today, we'd probably be remiss if we didn't begin by thanking our sponsors. I want to shout out our friends over at studsracing.com. My man Eric, how are you doing, Eric? Holding down everything in the Motor City. Our friends at Go Power Sports. What's happening, Taylor? How you doing out there? You got the big pull start picnic coming up in April. They got drag racing going on. I was thinking about getting out to that event. And I even talked to Jake Moe about maybe rolling out there with some bikes. And unfortunately, work and a bunch of other things kind of happened. So we won't be able to make it this year, but hopefully we'll be able to make it next year. Shout out to my man Long Beach Sprocket. How you doing out there? Big D. We are wanting to thank our friends over at Small Engine Cams, Go-Kart USA, Rafa from GTS. Talked to Rafa about a week ago. I've got an Arley built motor sitting up there on the bench. Can't wait to stick that in a new custom GTS roller that Rafa's making some special concessions on, and I'm anxious to get that done. So I want to give a shout out to our friends there at GTS, Green Filter USA, and our longstanding Joe's Mini Bike Reunion podcast sponsor, Pioneer Car Electronics, where I remind you one more time, don't break up with your car, upgrade it with Pioneer. Check them out at pioneercarelectronics.com. Tell them Joe's Mini Bike Reunion sent you and they'll charge you double. All right, guys, it's been a busy 2025, at least it's been for me. It's been really good. In January, I rolled out to the AV and had a chance to be a part of the Sunday Fun Day. Shout out to my man Trey D and Jake Moe and Arlie and who else? No Limit, Whiskers, a few other guys were out there. I rolled up with my new custom Jake Moe built Studs Racing Tillotson powered mini bike that started off with the frame from Go-Karts USA. Thanks, Al. And Jake Moe just killed it. He chopped it. He lowered it. He sleeved the the front forks to take on the grips. He crafted a cool little compartment for the battery because it's electric start. Let's see what we got here. Sounds a little something like that. It's awesome. It's a big tire bike. I can't wait to go out there and ride it again. I was out there for the Sunday Fun Day ride and brought out a newbie, my buddy Ernesto. Shout out to my man Ernesto Douglas. We'll be with you Friday night celebrating your big job promotion. Hopefully we'll see Digger and Bing and, I don't know, Ari and maybe Bernie and a few others, Marcus. We're going to celebrate Ernesto and all of our guys on Friday nights. Shout out to all my Honda Ground Lifestyle guys out there, right? We rolled out. Ernesto came with not only the Jake Moe bike that we picked up, but also brought the Temecula Bob long frame bike. And we rode up and down those beautiful paved roads out in the AV all day and had a great time. And it's fun because to me, it's all about bringing in a newbie, right? And I recommend and suggest that for everybody. Bring somebody in. Now, Ernesto, who's an accomplished rider, he's got big bikes and small bikes. And we ride all the time. He had a blast. He had a blast with the small bikes, and they are different. And that's the beauty of these mini bikes. So pull start lives forever. We had a great time out there. Later on in January, I rolled out to Steady Garage. I had to get a little work done on one of my little Honda Monkeys. I got a scratch on the tank. So while I was out there, I saw a cool bike that I hadn't seen before. It's called a Stout Boonie, and it's back here. The Stout Boonie, guys, I believe out of the East Coast, and they're bigger bikes. They're big fat tire bikes. The one I have is powered with a Ghost Predator engine. I'm going to bring it down to Big Daddy Motorsports, and we're going to swap out the carbs, and I don't know, we'll figure out a few other little things to do, but that's a nice, cool bike. So I came across that. Thank you, Ray. Thank you, Kevin, for hooking me up there with that bike. And then a shout out to my buddy Lou. About a month ago, I was able to purchase a 74 Honda Z50. It now can sit alongside its 73 Honda Z50 brother. They're both blue. I've got one for me, and now I got one for my grandson Max, and hopefully we'll be riding together. So I'm looking forward to that. It was a good time. It started off really good, and here we are in March, and it looks like it's going to get better. We've had, we've had a lot happening in the mini bike hobby. There's a tremendous amount of good stuff happening. I talked about the upcoming events that are happening with Go Power Sports in April. There are other events that are happening. I think the AV guys are going to continue to promote their events out there. On somewhat of a somber note, when I mention AV, I can't help but take a moment to offer our condolences to Darren. Darren was involved in an accident recently and lost his life way too soon. He was way too young, and it devastated the entire AV and mini bike community as a whole. So many nice things were said about him. Last time I saw him, I think, was out at that AV Sunday Fun Day, ironically. And, I want to give a special shout out to Arlie as well as Jake for their loss. You guys just have to be mindful of the fact that, these mini bikes, they're great because they're so affordable and everybody can get into them. It's the most affordable means into power sports. So I can see the interest, and I can appreciate the fact that a lot of the guys who are getting into it are young. And, when you're young, you are, you take some chances and you act the fool a little bit. And that's not what happened here. This was an awkward situation. And I guess it just leads to the fact that we just always have to be aware of the fact that these are motor vehicles, and there are things that can really happen that can sour the whole community and the whole hobby. So rest in peace out there. If you wanted to take a moment to support the family, you can. I think there's some Instagram and some GoFundMe pages out there. Rest in peace, Darren, as well as all the fallen riders. And I would also be remiss if I didn't take a moment to recognize a fan of ours from the Honda Ground Lifestyle Group. Rest in peace to Santos. Santos was a guy that was very well respected and fun to be around every Friday nights, a Honda Grom lifestyle. Smart guy, too. We recently celebrated his loss. I think he's been gone now for a couple of years, and that's just a shame. All right. So the mini bikes are, again, a lot's happening, a lot of ride outs. There's an event, it takes place in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Daryl Starbird has this car show. Daryl's been in the car show business forever. I remember back when I started in the car show business in the 80s, he was already a veteran. And he has an indoor car show that's huge, and they open up a whole area for mini bikes to not only be on display, but to ride around this huge track. And I saw some videos, it's awesome. I would love to get out there. So Texas, Oklahoma, they're having a good time. A lot of good things happening on the East Coast. The West Coast, look, the ride outs are happening constantly. We have great weather. Ozzy and Sprocket and a few other guys continue to be the mainstay go-to guys for those types of rides, but they're happening again, AV. There was one recently happening with our friend Jack up in Monterey, all our Honda Grom lifestyle guys that came out. So that was kind of cool. What's happening, my man, my local guy, Rich, how you doing?
Howdy, good.
Good to see you.
How are you guys?
We're doing good, man.
Sorry to interrupt.
That's all right.
Here in the background.
All right, we're just in the middle of a podcast now, so shut up, Rich. Grab a seat, brother. There's a chair maybe somewhere. If not,
Thank you.
just stand down. All right, so a lot of stuff's happening out there. Recently, there were some Instagram videos and social media videos that I had seen that was about the ride outs in Las Vegas. And the ride outs in Las Vegas had a little bit of a mixed review. They weren't fooling around. I saw what was some pretty nasty stuff. Guys getting tackled, as well as cops getting involved. And I got to tell you guys, there is nothing good about that. When you see negative stuff on Instagram, when you see guys getting chased on bikes on the LA news, when we see all those clips with the cops impounding bikes and arresting our riders, that's a false narrative. That's like fake media, because it depicts all of us that way. And we all know that that's not the case. I know too many cool guys in the hobby that not only I hang with and ride with, but I respect. And they're not out there mobbing. They're not out there robbing convenience stores. They're not out there doing burnouts in the middle of the intersection. When you're out there, you really have that opportunity to make an impact one way or the other. Not only should you respect the other guys that you ride with and, your buddies, but the spectators, because when you pull up on a mini bike, it's going to get people's attention. And right then and there, you've got the chance to either put a smile on their face or to put a frown on their face, because what you do and how you act is really what's going to be how they determine it. And if it's all negative, then it's going to ruin it for what? Your nephew, your grandson, your son. So when they want to get into the hobby, they unfortunately, because of a few, have to deal with the stigma of all this negative shit. Now, I'm all for giving the Beverly Hills 90210 guy a slap in the head, right? He gets out of his car, he starts picking on girls, and he got his ass kicked, he ran away. But all the negative press we got about that, over the last 6 months, I get a lot of calls and emails. And it's usually, it's dumb shit. Oh, hey, I've got a vintage Coleman mini bike I was hoping to sell. Vintage and Coleman, that doesn't really work. A lady called me the other day. She's looking for a really hard to find part for an Indian bike that she's trying to get put back together to give to her son. And she didn't know the year, or the make, or the engine model. And, people will call me up about a rep collection that's for sale. And I'll ask them to send me pictures, and they don't have them. So I get a myriad of all kinds of crazy calls. The calls I've received recently are all about, hey, Joe, did you see the news where they're chasing the mini bikes? Hey, Joe, did you hear about the kid that got into an accident and passed away. Hey, Joe, did you hear about this and that? So it's all been that kind of stuff. Instead of, hey, when is the mini bike show? Or, hey, I really liked or hated that last podcast you did. You know, it was more, hey, what do you think? And, you know, they're coming to me as an ambassador for all the obvious reasons. You know, I put my face on the mini bike scene, and we did it with the mini bike event. We did it with this podcast. And it was a lot of that of late, where folks expected me to have a response to why this negative stuff is out there. And I answered it this way. It's like, look, I'm 65, 66 years old. I go on these ride outs maybe 3 times a year. I go out Friday nights with my mini moto buddies maybe 12, 15 times a year. So I'm out there, but I'm not out there as a young 15, 16, 17-year-old kid who's fearless. And I remember and got into this scene because I had a bunch of cool mini bikes that I was tired of looking at by myself. I thought other people would enjoy seeing them, and it turns out that that was true. And I liked getting them all together because that's what I got into it for. You know, build the bikes, fire them up, ride them every once in a while, and bring them to car shows and all that shit. Well, it's different now. Things change. And I love these ride outs because riding mini bikes or riding mini motos, dude, that's what it's all about. Sure, it's nice to have them and look around. I love it. In fact, I got one next to me right here.
It's like a museum. It's a collection.
So we have bikes here to enjoy, but really riding them is ultimately what I can't wait to do. I can't wait to ride my mini bikes with Max. I can't wait to be out there on Friday nights. I'm like a little kid. It keeps me sane. So I understand all that. All I'm asking is that we take ownership of our hobby and that we continue to have a good time, make fun a priority, make safety a priority, as well as treat the folks that are watching us. Like I know when I'm on my grom and we're on Sunset and Highland and we're at a red light, and these people are from, I don't know, fucking pick a country, and they watch us and their faces are all lit up. Dude, I'll give them a decal. I'll wave at them. I love young kids, let them turn the throttle. I get it, but a lot of guys like to just take that opportunity and do wheelies and stunts and burnouts. And you got rubber flying in these people's faces, and they're getting really close to them, and they're getting scared. And it's like, you know, I struggle with that. Probably because I'm just getting older. So let's do this. Let's continue to have a good time. Let's continue to blow up this mini bike hobby. And you know, through your efforts and through our efforts, let's just keep it positive. All right, guys, as we said before, we are taking comments. We're going to hopefully get to a few of them, and I see a couple of them are posting up there. Thanks again, everybody. You're watching Joe's Mini Bike Reunion Podcast. This is Season 10, Episode 1. It's brought to you by our friends at Go Power Sports, Studs Racing. I don't know. We got tons of them. We've got GTS. We've got small engine cams. And we have our friends from Pioneer Car Electronics, Green Filter. I'm anxious to get out. I bought a little Maverick pickup truck because I'm tired of being a mooch and riding along with everybody else's trucks. I sold my truck thinking I wouldn't need it. And here I am a couple years later. So I've got my little truck. I'm anxious to roll out. I'm anxious to get down to Fast Lane Racing, see my friends Lionel and Daryl and all the guys down there to get a little work done on my stout boonie. I'm anxious to get to the local La Crescenta car show to show off my little Honda bikes there. I want to give a shout out to our friends at Campbell Automotive. They're your local repair shop here in La Crescenta. Been with me since day one. Day one. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Tommy. Thank you, Lisa. So we talked about this announcement that we're going to make. And I wanted to fill you guys in on what's happening over here with Joe and the event and the podcast. And the reality of it is that after 12 years of the event, and this being our 10th year for the podcast, and after some long-standing thinking about it and wondering about it and shooting holes in it and, you know, tossing and turning, we have decided that we are going to bow out. We feel that the time has come for us to stick a fork in it, so to speak, and hand the baton off to some other folks. and there's plenty of them out there, who can not only continue to promote these mini bike through events and through podcasts, but also take whatever momentum we may or may not have built up and run with it. There's just there's an internal clock as I look back that after 10 years or so, I lose a little bit of passion and interest. And dude, if you're losing that, you can't do things the right way. So this is not a bad thing. I'm actually excited. I'm looking forward to whatever the next thing may be. There's no denying that when things change or end, people have mixed emotions. Recently, Roadkill, as well as a couple other car shows off the Motor Trend channel, went away. And, I felt bad because I like Roadkill. I know those guys. I had a little time with them, helping them with some sponsor sales. And I know David. We'll talk to him a little bit. We'll talk about him a little bit later on, but I know those guys, and I was mad about that at first. Your first reaction is, shit, what about the magazine? What about the shows? What about me? And so if any of you guys are maybe feeling that way, hey, we're sorry about it. But look, start a show, start a podcast. My man Trey's starting a podcast, I believe. He hosted that nice ride out there at the AV. I love what Jason does over Mini Bike Ain't Easy podcast. I like the events that Taylor and the Go Power Sports, Eric from Studs does his event annually in the Motor City. I'm looking forward to actually going out there now. Instead of all these bikes parked in the garage, just like bring them out, show them, ride them. So I'm looking forward to that. And I did lose a little bit of luster because, dude, at 65, I got a fucking back brace out there. I'm trying to have a good time, but I'm running around going nuts, trying to park the In-N-Out burger truck, and the park wants more money. They want everybody to have insurance. They want 10% of anything that's sold. Everybody's got their friggin' hand out. And I got to a point where it was just time for me to move on. That's all. And I am not upset about it. Hopefully you guys aren't either. I like what we did. I think we moved the needle collectively, all of us. I think that it's prime now for someone else to do their thing. I'm also tired of listening to myself. I'm also tired of the fact that I think we've done a good job recognizing the more prominent folks in this hobby. I'm looking at this top 50 personality poster, and I look at the names of the different folks here, and it runs the gamut from the Franquez brothers, Evil Ed, Big Daddy, Rafa, our friends over at Steady Garage, Kevin and Ray. They're all out here. Linda, Justin Eichler. This is just 50 of the hundreds of people that we've been fortunate enough to come across. I've had a blast on the podcast. Thank you, E. E's done everything. He produces it. He directs it. He edits it. He created the logo, or the podcast logo. Shout out to Michael Fiore for actually creating the Joe's Mini Bike Reunion logo. Shout out to my man Aaron Munda. Aaron is the voice at the end of the podcast, Joe's Mini Bike Show. That's always been cool.
He's turning 20 this year.
Turning 20. Things went by quick, and it was fun, but it was also time. I had that feeling, maybe for a year or so. So last year at the event, it's like, look, it's California. There's a lot of things that you can do every Saturday. I get that. But, I see a lot of folks showed up. We had a good time, and it was a nice way to leave it. With the podcast, hey, I got to just about everybody that I thought needed a spotlight. Yeah, there's other folks that I wish I had had a chance to talk to. Again, you guys, start your own podcast. There's some other obvious folks that maybe need a spotlight. You shine it on them. Look, this ain't easy. I'm fortunate to have guys like Emmanuel. All I do is talk. What the fuck do I know? But to set this thing up, there's a lot of sharp guys out there. Like if you can assemble a Predator motor, you can put together some cameras and lights and microphones to do a podcast. I encourage you guys all to do it. I've kept some notes, and as I go through them, maybe you can give us a little bit of an idea of some of the comments that were made, and I'll see if I can respond to those while I try to make sure that I'm capturing everything that I wanted to talk about. Once again, it's Joe's Mini Bike Reunion. This is a live special, Instagram as well as YouTube. Once again, the announcement is that we're bouncing. We've had a great run producing the reunion. We've had a great run, fun time doing the podcast. But we're going to take a little time now to hang out with the family. And instead of putting on the show, I'll go to the show. Instead of, I was a guest on a podcast, Creative Riding Podcast. And we filmed it here in this garage back in January. And, as I listened to that podcast now, at that time I didn't know. It's episode 351, Creative Riding Podcast, episode 351. It was an interview that I did with those guys, and it was right here in the garage, and we had talked about the mini bike scene. And I didn't know at that time that I was going to bow out. As I listened to it, I think that there's some hints there that maybe I was feeling that way. I just didn't know it. So, what do we got? Anything good? Anything bad?
Asking what the next JMBR is.
Well, the answer to the next Joe's Mini Bike Reunion is, that's another thing too. I tried to do a reunion annually. Typically those reunions are benchmark years, like 20 years, the 25th. So, dare I say, dude, my grandson's 1. If he gets a wild hair up his ass and he's loving this 5 years from now, I'm going to do some kind of a reunion, right? But, look, who knows? There's no denying that what I try to do every year, it came around quick. Like, it's 6 more months until the next one. Like, I don't know where the 6 months went from last October to now. And that's what really got me. It's like, oh man, because it's not like sending in a check to the park. There's a list of about 30, 40 action items, and all of them need 50 phone calls. And they're all strings with the fucking gorilla attached to the end of it. At the very end, the In-N-Out truck may not be able to come. At the very end, the t-shirts are wrong. At the very end, the sponsors fell out. At the very end, the park wants more and more. At the very end, the guy with the dynos got some challenges. I got to a point where that stuff didn't stress me out, but it also, as I got older, dude, I don't want any stress in my life. I don't want anything but a good time. So, no, we won't be having any future Joe's Mini Bike Reunions to answer that question. What else, E? Anything?
Just a lot of good comments. Let's see. From Kokoro Honda.
Yes.
You legitimized the hobby and ushered a movement while giving many so much joy. I hope new leadership can lend the same amount of passion and effort.
Well, I think they're out there. The talent's definitely out there. Talk about getting folks together. Look what the 605 mini bike guys have done in terms of their exposure. A shout out to my man Mario out there and Slack Boogie and who else out there? OG Ronnie, Henry. Those guys have really, through their videos with Into Cut, they've really created a spotlight. And I look at you guys and I say, hey, look, man, thank you, first of all. Thanks for, you were great on the podcast. Great having you out at my event. But also, you guys really have a chance to affect things. Recognize that you've got a voice. Use it appropriately. And I look forward to being out there riding with you guys at 605. Shout out. What else, E?
We got Sad Crazy 13.
Oh, yeah. This.
Still love you and proud of what you've accomplished. 12 annual reunions and many more years in the community.
Nice.
And we have SFV818. Glad I was able to attend last year's reunion.
Nice to have you guys.
Brian Ekstrom says, Brianna says hi and loves you.
Hey, Brianna. Shout out to Jessica and Brian, my friends over at Minnesota. I'll see you guys at St. Paul for the Street Machine Nationals. That's somewhere, I don't know, July 17th through the 19th. I think I'm still the voice of that. I'm not sure. I have to check my agent.
FLR Mini Bikes.
Fast Lane Racing, Lionel.
Racing. Thank you for all the love and support throughout the years.
Fast Lane, got the hat right there. I'll see you guys soon.
BSR BSRJ boy.
Yep.
I can't.
Is there? It's the Instagram for our, unfortunately for Darren, who we lost out at AV.
You're the OG Joe. We love what you did for the community.
I'll be riding out there in AV. You know, I like riding along the aqueduct.
Let's see. Keep up the good work.
All right, so
There's a lot of
there's a
phrases.
good. So for those of you who had sent in those comments, thank you. Right, and along the way, to anybody, you know, when I've been on these rides, or sometimes I may be out and about, and people come up and say they listened to the podcast or came to the event. One of the coolest things is I saw an old dude who was out on a Friday night, and not only has he been coming to the mini bike show since I started, but there's 3 generations now, and would have been a 4th. So that's really cool. And if you had taken the time at any time to come up and say hi to me, or that the podcast, you liked it or you hated it, or you didn't win a fucking trophy or whatever it is, good or bad, if you've come up at any time to say hi, or you've come up at any time to say hi to Linda or Nicole or Dave or anybody at the event, thank you for that. Because that reinforced things, and it was nice to hear something positive instead of somebody bitching they didn't win a trophy. And those of you who know me, I fucking hated the judging, because it ain't about the trophies to me. It's always been about getting everybody together. All right, we're going to try to wrap this thing up, but I wanted to, if I could, take a moment to thank some folks particularly. I know I'm going to forget some things, and if I do forget you personally, and I probably, unfortunately, will forget, it's not because it didn't matter. It's just because this is a mixed time for me. I'm kind of relieved in one sense, but then everywhere I look around, it reminds me of the event. So I've got to go through a detox, right? And that's going to take a little bit of time. Let's see here. Sponsors. Again, thank you to everybody who supported the event, but also the JMBR family. I talked about my family, particularly Nicole, Linda, Dave, and Max, but also Jerry, Corey, my brother-in-law and my nephew, my good buddies Mikey, Ira, AJ, Mia, the voice of Joe's Mini Bike Reunion, Clarence Barnes, my buddy Brian Pake, another guy who was with me day one. Brian was with me when I had come to work on a Monday when I had the ad lab, an office right down the street from where my house is. And it was after a weekend, and I was out here in my garage, the same garage, with my bikes, and Nicole was visiting. And Nicole was leaving the house. She walked up the driveway. She looked in here and saw all these mini bikes. She shook her head, and then she said, you know, Dad, you ought to do your own mini bike show. You have so many of these stupid mini bikes. And she kind of walked out. And as I looked back, she was very observant, and she was very quick-minded, and she was able to predict in advance what was going to happen. So thanks for that, Nicole. We appreciate that. But you were a big part of that. And I went into the office that following Monday, and Brian was there. He was my main assistant. And I said, Brian, we're going to do a mini bike show. Let's go visit the park. And we went and visited the park. We went to the Chamber of Commerce. Next thing you know, I was filling out applications and renting the park. And so went the Joe's Mini Bike Reunion. And Brian, all along the way, shook his head, but as he typically did, because he's a money guy, and he knew that this was going to be a money maker. But despite that, we persevered and we had a good time, but I couldn't have done it without you, Brian. Thank you. On site, my buddies Ernesto, my man Robert from La Crescenta, all the volunteers over the years. Thanks to, obviously, Emmanuel for all the efforts with the podcast, E, and the event. We hope that we've shined a light on scleroderma, which is something that we take personal here. Continue to ask you for your support. Use sclerodermaca.com. What's the site?
myscleroderma.org.
myscleroderma.org.
Yep.
Please, guys, we've talked about that since the inception of Joe's Mini Bike Reunion. E's wife is affected by it. It's something that he takes on and his family take on daily. And we need to be there to support that. So I encourage you guys to all stand behind that. There's events, there's activities if you want to get involved. plus, unfortunately, at some point, we're all going to be affected by it. And we need to stop it. So help out if you can. I want to give a shout out to those folks that were guests on the podcast. One of my favorites was Jake Moe by far. He's just truly one of the coolest guys, one of the most talented builders in the hobby, and a great family man, and another guy that I really respect and admire and thanks. I'm going to give a shout out to Big Daddy, Daryl Smith, BDMS. Thank you, Unc, for everything. You're a mentor to many. I think of guys like Day Day. I think of guys like all the racers out there. I see what you do at Fastlane. I see what you do with all those guys that come into the shop, and you're celebrity A, and you're truly a really, really good guy. Don't ever change, Big Daddy. I'll give a couple shout outs to some of the OGs. Ricky Truong with his modified CT70 that won the best mini bike at the first event. My buddy Fred Hartman, my handyman, who was with me from the beginning. He hangs all the signs. He also assembled the mini bike at the first show. Dave Miller, rest in peace, Dave. Dave brought a stature to the mini bike show that elevated it immediately out of the box and legitimized it. I'm fortunate enough to have one of his last frames and one of his last choppers that I'll always cherish. Thank you, Dave. Taco Joe, Joe's Mini Bikes. Taco Mini Bikes, Joe Ravello. Thank you. All of the Hall of Famers, congratulations, well deserved. If there was one person that was remiss, in fact, I'm gonna do this right now. Despite the fact that we're going to end the event and we're going to end the podcast, I will offer one final entry into the Joe's Mini Bike Reunion Hall of Fame, and it's Justin Eichler. Congratulations, Justin. You are the final inductee, at least through my run, into the Joe's Mini Bike Reunion Hall of Fame. Collector extraordinaire, a great source of information, a great ambassador to the hobby, a great supporter of not only the event, a great family man. He's up there in Oregon now. One of the smartest guys out there when it comes to mini bike parts and pieces. He helped me acquire a couple bikes over the years, a Taco T100 with the Trail Tamer suspension and the Briggs 5-horse that I think Evil Ed built. I've got that in the collection. And I've sold him a couple bikes too. So shout out to you, Justin. Congratulations. We'll get a trophy out to you and we'll get you on the website. You'll be the final entry into the Hall of Fame, at least until someone else may want to pick it up. What else did I have here? I want to give a shout out to our friends over at Ted at Pioneer Car Audio. I could not have done any of this without you. Thank you so much, Ted. Our friends at Honda of Glendale, Brian and Darlene and Kathleen, again since day one. We mentioned our friends at Campbell Automotive, Steady Garage. My agency, Motor Media, they typically ended up writing all the checks, so thank you to myself. Every time I called up Rafa at GTS, I was able to, without even asking, get his support. He's given away thousands of dollars of bikes over the years. Thank you, Rafa. Eric from Studs, Tim from Small Engine Cams, thank you so much for not only being there for all of us. Your feet is like Pavlov's dog. We're out there looking for parts and you're always there. Thank you, Tim, for making the mini bikers a priority. And thanks for being the sponsor of the dyno over all these years, one of the more popular activities at the event. So we appreciate you. Thanks to the F&B boys, both Brian and Frank for the support. Al from Go Kart USA, Mark from Green Filters, both Shane and Dennis from Mother's Wax and Polishes. I'm so proud to see you guys out there with your commercials during Major League Baseball now. I love that. And a thank you to a lot of the other OGs who helped back in the day. My brother-in-law Marv, cousin Eddie and Steve and Terry. Who can forget Miss Mini Bike? Cherie. Thank you, Cherie. I don't know. Some of the early judges, Mark Espin, Steve Sharp. That was very, very helpful. Another good buddy of mine, Paul Giotto. Paul used to come to the show as a swapper. He used to bring food for everybody. He used to give away engines. He'd drive all the way over here from San Diego just to say thank you. A really special guy. Congratulations to Paul. He recently became a grandfather. My buddy Digger. Thank you, Digger. Digger would show up on all of our rides, and you know, he unfortunately had a little bit of a spill. He doesn't ride with us as much. Hopefully I'll see him on Friday. Digger was always there with a big smile on his face, the big tall guy trying to sell t-shirts and stickers and just being great to have around. Thank you, Digger. Thanks to our friends who, I don't know, they're family. It's Irene-ski, it's my nieces, both Briannas, it's my brother-in-laws. I appreciate the support there as well. And I don't know, guys, this is just one of those times where I could probably go on a little bit longer. I do want to recognize, and I mentioned before, David Freiberger from Roadkill. David and I worked together for decades back at Peterson, and what he's accomplished over the years with not only his creative writing skills, but also his creation of Roadkill and what a phenom that became. I was there for David and he was there for me, and we both got affected by corporate bullshit, but we helped each other out through and through. David came over here, in fact, again, right in this garage, and he filmed a video that's on YouTube called Mini Bike Mayhem, well over 6 million views. And in typical David fashion, check it out. He did a great history on mini bikes and go-karts and led into my event where there's some live footage from the original Joe's Mini Bike reunion. We filmed some of us riding up and down the street here with that Taco mini bike that was built specially for Hot Rod. And David put a spotlight and gave us an audience nationally, which really propped us up. We also were a part of, I don't know, Roadkill Nights, where I was able to, you know, again, promote the mini bike scene. So through David's help, we got a lot of exposure that we wouldn't normally have received. And I thank you, David, for that. We're going to miss Roadkill, but who knows? Maybe we'll get the band back together, and if Roadkill comes back around, maybe there'll be a place for mini bikes. I also wanted to leave this with you guys. You know, maybe you're an event producer, and you've got a car show, or you've got a fair, or you've got a happening, and mini bikes could help enhance that for you. You know, dial me up. I'll bring over Joe's Mini Bike reunion in a box. We'll bring out some mini bikes. We'll have some things for giveaway. We'll build a mini bike on site. We can give one away. We can do some pre-promotion for you. I may part with a few of my bikes. I've got a collection of, I don't know, 12 bikes around here. Some of them aren't going to go, but some of them may. So if you're seriously interested in maybe some one-off custom bikes, I've got a few of those that I may be parting with. Why am I doing it? I don't know. I need the room, honestly. And I'll probably use it to fuel something else. What's that something else going to be? I'm not quite sure. It's 66 in May? I don't know. We'll take it as it comes. I think I'm getting to the end of everything that I wanted to talk about. Come and see me and say hi. I'll be at Steady Garage for their big bash this April the 25th at Steady Garage in Irwindale. They're going to kick off a big weekend. We'll be there from 4 to 10. I'm going to MC. It's going to be a good time. No one does it like Steady Garage. I mean, put some respect on that name, Steady Garage, guys. Thank you, Kevin and Ray, for all you do for our hobby. And it's an honor for me to be a small part of what you guys have going on, so I'm looking forward to that. I don't know. Thank you, Linda. Thanks everybody else who's not only watched, but supported us. And over the years, if we put a smile on your face, or maybe you won something at the event, or you enjoyed a podcast, then that's good enough for me. Thank you to all of our sponsors again. Go Power Sports, Studs Racing, Small Engine Cams, GTS, Green Filters, Steady Garage, all of the exhibitors, all of the participants who came out. On behalf of Emmanuel Munda at D1 Productions, I'm your host of Joe's Mini Bike Reunion podcast for the last time. We'll see you out there, guys. Thanks for being a part of the JMBR family. Stay in touch. Check us out at JMBR Official on Instagram, or, I don't know, say hi to us at Steady Garage in April. It's been a blast, and if I could do it all over again, I would, but I'm not. Peace.
We're still going.
We're still going.
Let's stop this sucker. No, that's not it.
I got to find a new technical guy.
No,
If anybody knows
come on.
another producer. What's that,
What a
brother?
great time, man. That was so cool. That was so cool, man.
I got to see what I forgot. Hold on, give me a second.
Take your time.
I did that. Did I do that?